so much, Sai, for enriching our knowledge towards this. Thank you so much. And once again, Vinayak and Dr. Sriram, thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, all the delegates can download the guide by clicking on the link posted in the chat window. So thank you once again to all the amazing speakers. Thank you. And now we move on to the next segment of the day one of the plenary session, which is on consolidation, leader speak. Why, how, ways, and pitfalls. Joining us virtually, we're going to be having Mr. Keyur Desai, the CIO-Essar Ports and Shipping, Head InfoSecurity SR. We have Aarti Bansal Lamba, the Governance, Risk and Compliance Manager Group, CISO Office, Wipro Limited. Mr. Alan NG, the Deputy Team Lead, Cybersecurity Architecture, NCS Group. And to moderate the panel, we're going to be having Dr. Sriram Birudavolu, the CEO, Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, DSCI. So over to you guys, and a very warm welcome.
Hello, everyone. What a pleasure and honor to have such a good panel on such an important topic is security consolidation, right? Leaders speak why, how, ways, and pitfalls. So we have with us a stellar panel, Mr. Keyur Desai, CIO of SR Ports and Shipping, Head Information Security, and Mr. Alan Ng, Deputy Team Lead, Defense and Homeland Security and Cybersecurity Architecture, NCS Group, and Ms. Aarti Bansal Lamba, Governance, Risk and Compliance Officer, Group CISO Office, Wipro Limited. Warm welcome to this panel. So, actually, this security consolidation, this has several drivers, several motivations behind it. We will explore them. So one of the things is that we need to consider the costs, the simplifications, the regulations, competition, the proliferating technologies, and the threat landscape, standardization, and of course, legacy systems, and so on. So we would touch upon all of these points, of course, but we would like to hear from you first from Mr. Keyur Desai on what is security consolidation and what are the drivers and motivations behind this phenomenon of security consolidation.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Sriram. A very good afternoon to everyone. When you talk about the security consolidation, there are two major aspects that we look upon to. One is the security consolidation from within the organization. So while we have all the various set of I would say set of point security solutions and how as an organization we can consolidate and ensure that we simplify our security managing practice and also the overall monitoring and the compliance part. So that's one aspect. And the second aspect, on the larger aspect, is as we see a lot of acquisition happening on and around on various security products or the OEMs, and a lot of consolidation happening at the OEM end. So there are two different aspects that we can touch upon. So I'd like to quickly touch upon the first aspect first on the security consolidation within the organization. So as an organization, I strongly believe that we should follow a typical hybrid practice. When I say hybrid practice is whatever you can consolidate and have all the point security solutions under one platform, the major platform, so that any threat detected from any one of the surface vector can possibly be I would say protected from the other vectors. Sorry. So that so that makes life easy for the organization to ensure that the major threat vectors are protected. On the same lines, the organization should also ensure that the typical phenomenon of all eggs in the same basket. So that part also should be taken care. So this is more of the first aspect which I just wanted to throw light on. So more of a hybrid approach, a kind of a balanced approach. Second, while we see a lot of consolidation at the OEMs level that's happening, and let's say we have a couple of solutions, and now that is acquired by acquired and the consolidation happening at the OEM level. Now that becomes very 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 important and critical that we as an organization should actually look forward to the OEMs to integrate the solution at their level. just to ensure that we can get the benefit out of the acquisitions and the consolidation that is happening at a larger I would say arena. So these are couple of angles and thoughts which I just wanted to share, Dr. Sriram.
Oh, thank you so much, Keyur, for those valuable insights. Actually, both of these are right. I mean, when OEMs do engage in mergers and acquisitions, they also need to show a very good, robust, solid path to the customers, saying that this integrated solutions, this is what the roadmap is going to be like. You're assured of patches, you're assured of upgrades, and at lower cost, so to speak. That will not, they will not have to bear the burden of the complexity and cost in order to do the solutioning. And before they retire or even sunset some of the products, and how is the new path going to take place, going to be there. And also from the other side, that internally, while organizations must and should experiment with different solutions which are out there to take advantage of the innovations and all that, they should not end up with a plethora of point solutions that are unmanageable. They should have a way of platformizing and consolidating this in some way or the other, so that they get benefits from different solutions. So it is not that one solution is perfect. Maybe because of the scale and sophistication of threats that are there, it may sometimes require multiple solutions to play the role to improve the security posture, but it needs to be done in a very carefully orchestrated manner. So, with this, I would like to ask the same question of Mr. Alan Ang on what his thoughts are.
Okay, so thank you for having me. Good afternoon to everybody. Yeah, so my thoughts about what is basically security consolidation, and or rather what's the driver. I think pretty largely, I believe the key drivers is probably COVID. Because of COVID, I think there's a lot of digitalization. There's a lot of organization being forced to actually transform their businesses. So as such, their IT landscape has become more and more complicated and more complex in terms of the way that they run their business, right? And very many organization has in a way has a different stage of their digitalization and in terms of maturity, in terms of even their security. So there are definitely organization will have a lot of tools, a lot of different various security services or even suppliers, right? And I'm sure that the key drivers to do this consolidation is definitely very evident to all these organizations. Why? Because the budget constraint and the limited budgets on security, cybersecurity, and yet they have a wide range of security issues to tackle. That is also something that is on their mind, right? And then of course there's also a lack of cybersecurity professional right now in the market to actually manage the merits of security consoles and tools, even security vendors or even IT vendors, right? And I believe that the organization is also transforming themselves to have a better visibility and maybe even situation awareness because of the landscape that we're not operate in. While organizations are transforming, our adversary like the malicious actors, the ransomware gangs, are getting more and more professional. They are probably even well organized than some of the companies out there. All right. So this is critical that we consolidate all the security tools to actually reduce the security clutter, the noise, and to be more efficient in terms of handling events or even security incidents. And definitely there will be eventually also come to a point that they have good cost savings and optimization, because I think as pre-COVID, all the organization will invest in tools, maybe specific tools to address ransomware, specific tools to address other security challenges. But we reach a point that there are so many tools, it becomes a challenge to actually operate them and to be efficient, because they are all not talking to each other, right? They are not even integrated properly, perhaps. And then we are actually forcing policies and procedures and operations processes to the people to manage all these tools. But we all know that if we rely on humans, these processes tend to fall apart, right? So so there's a really strong need for security consolidation to also help reduce complexity and operation challenge for all this organization. Yeah, these are my thoughts.
Thank you, Ellen. Yes, definitely. Very good thought. Thank you, Ellen. So, Aarti, would you like to comment on this?
Sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Sriram, and a very good afternoon to all of you. So, first, I would like to talk about what exactly is security consolidation for the benefit of our audience, and then I would like to share my thoughts on it. So, a consolidated security architecture is basically a multi layered approach to cybersecurity that protects all IT attack services, be it networks, clouds, endpoints, mobile, and IoT devices, sharing the same threat prevention technologies and threat intelligence. So, consolidation basically means changing from a number of standalone best of breed products to a Swiss Army knife solution. A good example would be a Microsoft E5 Security Suite solution, which offers features from privileged identity management to data classification. So, for example, if you talk about best of breed solutions, you would go for a solution for data classification. You would go something for privileged identity management. But when you talk about security consolidation, you basically buy one tool, for example, Microsoft E5 Security Suite, which takes care of everything. So when you have multiple products, you have to manage multiple consoles. However, with consolidation, you get single pane of glass visibility, which is extremely important these days. Coming on to the second point, which is the drivers or the motivations behind it. Well, according to me, the first so security consolidation has been going on since many years in the IT industry. But what I feel is that it has got fast tracked primarily because of the viral pandemic. So, with cyber attacks against corporate networks, it has increased 50% in the past year. And we have seen that there has been a dual pandemic. One has been a biological one has been a cyber one, right? So, to defend against any expanding attack surface, security teams are increasingly adopting new cybersecurity products to protect their networks, their cloud infrastructure, their IoT devices. And what happens is that you have so many products from various vendors that create security gaps and operational overhead. So, other drivers which I can think of is would be simpler integration, less expertise which is required to manage multiple siloed solutions, and usually a total cost of ownership for the CISO. So yeah, according to me, these are the drivers which are moving us and propelling us towards security consolidation. So by the time Dr. Sriram joins, there is one more point which I would like to mention is that is if and when an organization decides to go with consolidation, there are 4 pointers which I would say. One, come up with a plan. What is your strategy? Does your strategy align with your business goals? What other capabilities are you looking for? You need to have that in mind. Second is a gap analysis. Third is do a total cost of ownership. See whether what is your return of investment. And lastly would be automation and migration. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Aarti, for that. Okay. I got dropped off for a few brief while, but those were really good insights. Yeah. So I'd also like to bring into perspective the fact that all organizations, user organizations, are not the same. There are, of course, there are MSMEs, there are large organizations, there are small organizations, there are people starting out, and as an industry body, we definitely advocate security for all. Okay, not merely saying that it's a large organizations you should worry about it, because oftentimes it's the smaller ones that are very heavily targeted. Okay, so with this consolidation and all happening, and also cloud adoption increasing during this pandemic, as well as in general for cost and complexity reasons, normally also digital transformation, many organizations are moving to cloud. Okay, So, what does security consolidation mean in this context? In the sense, what does it entail? What are the things to look out for, and the pros and cons of doing that? If you could quickly have your views, starting with Keyur.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Uh, when it comes to the pros and cons and taking in aspect of the cloud adoption that has actually gone into a different level now when it comes to the SMEs and the large organizations as well. Now, uh, if we just take a step back, while we are talking about all the security vendors and the OEMs, in fact, if you see a lot of OEMs, in fact, majority of the OEMs now have actually gone towards the cloud approach. So having the solutions, the OEMs actually having their solutions on cloud. Now this becomes very imperative and and actually supports the overall cloud infrastructure and the cloud adoption of the organizations as the customers. There are two aspects. Well, primarily, if we take a step back of let's say last a few years ago, majority of the OEMs used to be on-prem solutions. Now since the overall, as we see the trend, as all the OEMs have almost moved to cloud, uh, this is one of the major input that we can see, and we can take it as a very vital input as a customer, as the end customer organization, that while the OEMs are moving towards cloud, it is a fantastic indicator for us that while we as an organization, we move our data to cloud, and while we shift our applications to cloud, it becomes easy for the overall protection. So the overall surface protection and the threat defense for the cloud, for the data on cloud, that becomes quite easy. Also now, it also becomes easy to integrate. Second is to ensure that the flexibility and the ease of your usage. Let me give a very quick example. Uh, Wow. A simple example of while we have the on-prem solutions and the overall, let's say if we used to have those the on-premise appliances by the OEMs. Now it used to have a lot of constraints when it comes to any surge of licenses, or let's say surge of utilization, etc. Now, while in cloud, it becomes easy to kind of expand. So let's say if there's a need to increase the license, it is more on the fly, so that also becomes easy. So now, coming back to the whole point, the pros towards consolidation and the cloud adoption, OEMs have been doing a kind of a fantastic, I would say, change, and in fact they are I would say a little bit ahead, yeah, in this curve when it comes to the overall cloud adoption and the consolidation bit. But as a con, I mean, so let's say if we just have to be a little cautious on the other side, if we have to, so while we see a lot of rosy things on one side, the other side is uh, we also need to ensure that while the OEMs are moving towards cloud, we need to have a detailed analysis of where where are the dashboards and their overall solutions are implemented. So when we interact with the OEMs, it is for us, it is important, while let's say majority of the data is in India. We would want that we work with the OEM whose dashboards and whose platform is actually hosted in India, just to avoid the latency part, etc. Right? So there are a few I would say point of cautions while we interact with the OEMs, and that's how I just wanted to highlight that aspect as well. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Very good points here. So, I'd like to ask Alan for his views on this subject.
Okay, so we're talking about security consolidation and what it entails, right? So,
Yeah.
I'd like to maybe suggest a few ways that we can actually achieve this in terms of security consolidation, and why how we can do it. But basically, I agree with Mr. Keyur on the cloud adoption has definitely changed a lot of. Basically, it's a game changer, right? Because when you move to cloud, you actually have access to a lot of more technology, definitely a lot more capabilities that you can do, right? So in terms of the capabilities that they roll out, it does really, in a way, addresses the security consolidation, or rather the consolidation story, basically. Right? Because basically, when if you go to AWS or to Azure or to even Google, basically all the tools that you need to secure your workload, to secure your data, are actually already there, actually. So it's just that whether you whether the features and functions actually solve your use case, or whether it addresses your security needs, or it addresses your risk appetite, basically. Right? So with cloud, there are also a lot of automation that can be implemented. So when we talk consolidation, I think one of the key ways of doing it is through automation, through maybe integration of using SAW or other technology, right? And we can even use in a cloud context, you can use infra as code, even security as code. Basically, you can write code in Lambda to perform certain security actions even before when the certain incident is being detected. So that actually really helped to bring down a lot of noise and clutter, and definitely bring down the cost, because you don't have to hire one guy to actually respond to that incident, because you just write one piece of code that can actually respond to an incident. For example, maybe a malicious login, or a login that should not happen in the middle of the night, and you can just automatically block that kind of login, or the login comes from maybe some country like Russia, that you're not expecting any user coming from there. You can actually do a block, right? So there's a lot of capabilities that is available on the cloud that you can tap on to achieve that automation, to achieve that even the consolidation of all these tools. Because when you go to the cloud, right, if you are familiar with AWS, there's actually a security control panel where you can see all the security findings, all the compliance issue, even the alerts from all the security tools, like for example guard duty. Yeah, you basically have an overview of all the situation that's running, of all the incidents that is running and happening inside your cloud workload. Right. So this is definitely not achievable in on-prem solution. It is much harder in the sense, because you have different segmentation, you have a lot of network controls in the place, and your security tools can only reach certain segment, or they are not integrated together, and they are probably piecemeals. So that probably poses a lot more challenge when they are doing consolidation for on-prem. Yeah, so I guess this thought is basically the idea of how it can be achieved will be really to really rely less on human manual operations, but really to go for automations and also integration, where you can achieve that kind of consolidation and also full visibility.
Sure. Yes, Alan. So cloud is, of course, the preferred way to go for many people,
Yeah.
barring some critical infrastructure and some areas where an on-prem solution is very much desired there, either for the speed of operations, or they have some very critical operations running
Agree.
where they would rather have.
Definitely from the industry that I'm working in, defense on homeland, a large portion of them are still pretty much on-prem and air gap away from the internet.
Yes, definitely. There also private clouds are gaining prominence there. Of
Yes.
course. So that is it. So moving on to Aarti, really, what would you say? What would your comments be on the fact, what does this security consolidation entail, and what are the things to look out for, the pros and cons and everything?
Sure. So to that, I would like to use the old adage, which is basically every rose has its thorn. So everything has its own pros and cons, and there is no one size fits all approach. So the point over here, which I can see, is best of breed versus best of suite. So a consolidated solution has clear advantages such as seamless integrations between various security components, which makes an easy, sustainable, and a scalable user experience, which is very difficult to achieve with a best of breed model. Second thing is a best of suite can also be financially beneficial since the license costs are typically lower due to the volumes. And what I feel is when I talk about licenses, there is a reduced waste. because with individual license agreements, an organization inadvertently purchases lot many additional licenses for a product which we are not even using. So basically, it leads to a lot of reduced waste when you talk about a securities consolidation. Third is managing multiple consoles, because you have a single pane of glass visibility and it becomes easier to train people, it becomes easier to manage things. The fourth would be, I would say, managing multiple vendors. So when you have 30 to 40 vendors for various security solutions, it becomes very difficult to manage their renewals and the SLAs and all of that. So yeah, that's according to me. And if I come about the cons, the first and foremost thing which I feel is defense of depth concept. So for example, in cybersecurity, uh, defense mechanisms are basically supposed to be in a series with in multiple redundancy, so that if when one control fails, another one steps up. But with security consolidation, I'm not very sure whether we will be able to achieve the defense in depth which the organizations are looking for. So yeah, that's pretty much my 2 cents. Dr. Sriram, you're talking on mute.
I'm very sorry. Yeah, all put together very valuable insights. I hope there are excellent takeaways for the audience here. I'd like to mention that at this stage, that for very critical operations and all, there are in fact redundancies built in. They're deliberately built in. For example, let's say in the aerospace industry, they do have parallel systems running, and when there are two redundant systems running in parallel, they give very often they give them to separate vendors to be implemented even in separate languages, programming languages, because it should not happen that if supposing you've implemented one solution and there is a point at which there was a bug or a failure, and then it switches over. When it switches over, it will encounter the same bug at the same point, and the system will fail. Okay, you don't want that to happen in an aircraft, so they give it to two separate vendors, possibly implementing it using totally different architecture design, and implement what you call even coding programming language also is different. So at least they will not fail at the same time. So in such cases, what would happen is in security, now translating that to security, obviously, if one of the system is there in which it is 98% perfect, well, those 2% of the time it fails, you would probably have another thing, the Swiss cheese kind of a model, or in which all the holes will not line up at the same time. So which is there. So there is certainly a need for several parallel redundant systems in critical areas. The other thing is that there is a need. So there is one thing which is operational simplification and safety. The other thing is that of innovation, in which one would like to try out these bright new solutions which are there from startups and all, new products that are coming up. Probably the existing suites are not as sharply focused on certain problems as the new solutions are, whether it be it, let's say, biometric detection, so behavioral biometrics, or you would say in cloud or in IoT security or so. So then you would take this. Another reason could be cost, that a large company is a large corporate one, despite some licensing fees being reduced and all that, still the cost of implementation, because they have too many features and all, which maybe smaller companies don't need, and they need a much simplified postures which smaller organizations can afford. So with that, what are the new trends? I would like to take this the final round of our query in this panel discussion. So what are the shape of things to come? How do we dovetail these innovations also, without compromising heavily on the integrated solution aspect, so that you do not have to manage many of these, and you also have a system in which you have a consolidated one for operational simplification, ease, and your governance, risk, and compliance, while you're also trying out all of these new solutions, which you would like to see how they work out and help protect your cyber posture. Okay, improve your cyber posture. So again, starting with Keyur.
Yeah, sure. Uh, See, if we talk about the trends, the future trends, and or if sorry, or even if we deep dive into the current trends, uh, AI has been one of the major factor which is really coming up big time. When I say AI, there are two aspects again to the AI part. First is the extensive use of AI and ML by the organizations within the organization, just to ensure that while there's a lot of data now, how to ensure that the overall data trends are understood, and then kind of AI is put into practice. Now this is more about, let's say, if we take one step ahead on getting into the typical organizations now moving towards the digital twins. So just to ensure that they can actually predict and they can actually do a lot of experimentations on the digital side, and then kind of take it onto their production side. Now this is more one of the area which is again quite vulnerable when it comes to kind of heavy usage of AI, and any lack of I would say security, uh, defense mechanisms in and around the AI systems. I think that this is one area which needs to be looked out for, and kind of needs to be taken extra care. Second part, when I say AI, on the other aspect is a lot of usage of AI by the bad actors. That is also kind of coming up big time. In fact, it is I mean, it is into a lot of predictions that we see day in day out. So it is more about kind of, so while we have a lot of threat defense that is lined up uh, within the organizations, but then now there are using AI to ensure that all these the layers of cyber security defense mechanisms can be bypassed. So again, this is also more of a worrisome area when it comes to the organizations, while a lot of focus being taken into the digital part. So this is one area where a lot of AI being used into the cyber attacks. So this is also the second part when it comes to AI. Second, as very well predicted into by even Forbes as well. So while we call IoT, it is more about, it is known, also known now, it is very well known as the Internet of Vulnerable Things. Now this is also becoming very 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 crucial as the organizations move towards the IoT space, because this is one area which has been neglected over the past decades, and now this really becomes important to ensure that while IoT takes the front seat within the organizations, I think this aspect of ensuring that the working with the OEMs, the security OEMs, and in fact a lot of startups now kind of coming up have actually seen these as one of the big opportunity, and also now a lot of startups coming up with IoT security as an aspect. So I think organizations should also now focus as a part of IoT security as one of the important trend as they move towards in their journey. I think these are a couple of pointers which I wanted to highlight.
Sure. Thank you very much, Keyur. Yeah, Ellen, could you please
Uh,
comment on this? Yeah.
sure. So I as a personal point of view, I think the things to come, the trend for security consolidation, I think pretty much close to my heart is actually it's actually a term that is coined by Gartner, called the cybersecurity mesh architecture. So this is something that is very close to heart, because that actually, in a way, very related to today's topic about consolidation, because this is also basically a approach, a architecture approach or framework, or even a ecosystem, basically to allow all the security tools actually to come together into a mesh, to be able to secure your basically your organization in a modern and distributed way, right? In a manner that is more predictable and integrated in that sense. So that, I think that could be a very good it will be a things to come, basically, right? Because the promise of cybersecurity mesh architecture is it includes things like, it enhances your capabilities for detection and efficient response, which is quite related to what I shared in the beginning. Because we all know that, there was an era where we were just onboard all the logs to the SIM, everything gets pumped into the SIM, and to the point that it gets so much clutter and noise, to the point that security professional are not able to respond to incident efficiently because there are a lot more junk in there, right? So definitely the security mesh architecture will help to reduce that, right? And it will give you you are able to also apply consistent policy, you're able to check on your security posture, and even play out your playbook more effectively, and definitely granting you more adaptive and granular access control to all your security tools. I mean, this is like it sounds like a very big thing, but how the industry actually evolves, I think, is still yet to come. But this is definitely something on the horizon for a lot of big organization or even small organization where we talk about security mesh architecture, right? Because it does have certain promises for consolidation, and it has a lot more benefit in that sense. But how to achieve it, how it can be done, I think this will take a couple of years before everybody will figure out how it can do this piece. But I think some of the key enabler for this particular architectural framework or approach will be definitely cloud, right? While although some organization may not be adopting cloud in a big way because of the business nature or because of their operational model, but that can still be a framework that they can adopt, but maybe in the smaller scale within their on-prem premise architecture kind of design. But that can be still used in a sense as a backdrop, as a framework to roll out the blueprint that when they build the future on-prem solution, they can actually adopt this mindset or this architecture framework so that they can build similar idea, so that they really have that full control over the security mesh and able to reach into all the systems, application, and hence giving a very good security posture for the organization itself.
Definitely. Thanks, Alan, for those. We're almost on top of the time, but I'd like to turn to Aarti. Before that, definitely would like to mention that standardization and frameworks do play an important role because there needs to be interoperability between the different components and the interfaces that the organizations, different products and vendors and all are coming out with. So, because of that, there can be greater consolidation happening because they can interoperate really well. Okay, I'd like to hand over to Aarti for her final comments on this topic.
Sure, thank you. So I would like to talk about what the World Economic Forum warned us, that we should prepare for a COVID-like global cyber pandemic that will spread faster and further than a biological virus with an equal or greater economic impact. In terms of what is the future of consolidation? I feel consolidation is going to increase. There will be more and more providers providing us the best of suite solution. Partners are going to build up innovative products, but at the same time, what I feel is the best of breed will always be there. There is a years of experience which goes into making the best of breed products, and they will always be there. But yes, we will see a mix of a consolidated solution as well as best of breed products. Both the things will be there. Best of breed will help us, giving us that specialized technology, but at the same time, going into best of suite will help us in simpler integration and reduce the number of consoles as well as the SLAs and the contracts which we have to manage. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that enriching discussion. I think we're all on top of the time, and also would like to thank you for your excellent insights. I hope the audience has taken note. Many of these are born of valuable experience, really, and from the deep insights from the industry and their own expertise as well. So I hope everyone has taken note. Thank you very much, Alan, Keyur, and Aarti, for your valuable comments. With that, we'd like to close it.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the panelists. Well, that was quite a good start. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us virtually. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will commence at dot 1:30 after the lunch break We are going to be having parallel panel sessions planned with industry experts joining us across the sectors. Well, I request all of you guys to kindly join us by dot 1:30 sharp for the set of parallel power-packed panel sessions, which will be in store for all of you at 3 parallel stages. The agenda is profiled at the schedule tab on the top navigation bar, and for you to look through the panel sessions as per your interest. Please visit the virtual exhibition booths when you find out time to interact and learn more about the interesting security solutions. Well, enjoy your meals, and I'll see you back at exactly 1:30. Thank you.